Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast. This is the first takeaway with Tay and Ren. The Packers won today against the Texans in Lambeau Field, and it was the alternate uniform game where they wore all white, including their helmets. It was called the Winter Warning, but it should have been called like the Summer Sizzler with all the white reflecting the sun rays away, but it was in the 80s. October 20th. This is crazy. So I think they should have planned this for later in the year for a home game when it actually was cold and it looked like a blanket of snow in the stands. So props to all those people that went out and got their winter warning gear and wore it for the game. They looked fabulous out there. All the white uniforms, in my opinion, looked amazing. So this game was a little bit tense, I think, a little bit, but I think the Packers in general handled the Texans quite well, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I'm here with Ren right there. Ren looks a little blurry, a little pixelated today because he's not in town. He did watch the game. Don't worry about that. But he is where is that? Some corner of North Dakota, Ren. And tell me, is that Denver Broncos or is that Minnesota Vikings land? Where are you at?
I'm in Ludden, North Dakota today, and it's a little mix of everything. I mean, it's probably a lot of Viking fans or a lot of Packer fans in North Dakota. The Packers radio network does make its way north and South Dakota.
Yes.
In Sioux Falls, North Dakota. Emerson or Emeron, North Dakota, north of me, is also part of the Packers radio network. Had I had to tune in, I had a radio with me ready to go. But we did have the NFL Network out here. So, hey, out in the middle of nowhere and was able to take in the full game and actually watch the game once today. Not on the radio, not out in my backyard smoking bees or doing different things. Got to just be out here in the middle of nowhere and Packers win one hell of a football game today.
Well, they did, and I think during our preview last week, Ren, we kind of mentioned that one of the keys to victory for the Packers was not making mistakes, and they came out pretty early and did just that. They both teams went 3 and out to start, and then we had a pick from Jordan Love, which kind of looked a little ugly. But that's beside the point, but Jordan ended up throwing 2 interceptions. They lost like a muff punt, like they fumbled it and had the Texans recovered that. So that was 3 turnovers. But the Packers in general were able to overcome that adversity, which is, I think, a feat unto itself. That's awesome. That is something new, I think, for us, for the Packers to overcome deficits like that. So that was super cool to see. But obviously, and you'll probably touch on it too, but the props goes to the defense. I mean, they did a great job today. They finally got and disrupted the quarterback. Stroud was not able to throw even over 100 yards today. He was pressured. He was sacked. It's finally great to see that, especially against a great opponent like the Texans, because they came in at 5-1 and they were a good team, and they still are. So the Packers played an excellent game, but in that second half, we only allowed 3 points, and that was the 3 points for the field goal in the very last minute and 50 seconds of the game or so, and then otherwise they shut out the Texans. So props to the defense in that last half, the second half. And that's been stellar already this year. The Jeff second halfly defense has really stepped it up. And I'd almost say like he's making really good adjustments and kind of coming through for us on the defensive side of the ball, which we haven't seen a lot. So major props to the defense. Yes, the offense got them down enough for Brandon McManus to kick the game-winning field goal as time expired. I think I called it not in the exact score prediction, but I called a winning field goal by McManus in a preview, so I got that one right. It just felt that was going to happen. I felt that was going to be right, and it was. So the offense got him down there to get the field goal, Ren. But props goes to the defense for not allowing the Texans to get as much points as they probably should have, as many points as they should have, because I think they were in the red zone 6 times or so, and they ended up with 2 field goals. So they did stop the Texans from scoring. They did a number of 3-and-outs. So props to the defense. But yeah, I'd love to hear your take. What was your first takeaway here? Your first reaction here, and I guess like where do you see the reasons for the Packers win go for this team?
Well, we can start with the one thing, and that is, not a fan of McGrabass as the guy, but as a leg, yeah, that's why they brought him in today. Hired
Yeah,
gun, and they got a kicker because if they were rolling out Nard Dog for that last one, not sure I would have been feeling real good about it. Even he would have been. We joke about it. He would have been, when they ice him, he would have made the iced kick, and then he would have missed the actual kick after they took the timeout. So it's huge. They need a kicker, and they got a kicker today. And that was a huge and like we talked about, on the last episode, it comes down to a point or two here or there, and you need a kicker to make that big kick when it counts. And they brought in a guy who can do that. So props to that. Let's start with some of the bad, and that is, Jordan's played in 4 games, and he's having 2 interceptions a game. He's got to get it cleaned up today. This stuff is going to cost him some games down the road. You look at the first one, he doesn't recognize the corner coming over, so he's throwing in a double coverage. The second one, he throws late. No bueno today. It's rare you win a game where you have 3 turnovers and you get none yourself. Special teams outside of Danny Allen, because he helped flip the field at times when they needed it. Terrible. Was it Valentine?
yeah,
You can't let that hit your awful. Rich Bisaccia is the highest paid special teams coach in the league. And outside of Danny, and obviously Brian McManus today, that's not a good game played by the special teams. Eric Wilson today, talking some highlights. This guy doesn't
yes,
get a lot of playing time recently. Eric Wilson had himself a game. I was like, man, Eric Wilson showing a couple tackles today. You're like, wow, he flowed in and crushed it. Saw more pull from Evan Williams, massive sack on that safety blitz from McKinney. Rashawn Gary, who today? Rashawn Gary had himself a game putting on the pressure today. I mean, it was a sight to see, and we love to see it. They need to get that from going. And Igbare was there. It was a chippy game today. These two teams definitely did not like each other at all. But they could do better. Had they not had turnovers today, which really none of them should have happened, you got to play smarter football. I think they dominate this team and win by at least 2 touchdowns. I really, but they had to work their way back and get in position with 3 seconds on the clock to hit a huge kick and beat an excellent football team. They're missing a lot of key players today, but no excuses. I mean, I know Houston missed a lot of defenders that they want to have on the field. Didn't happen. But the Pack really should have won this game by, in my opinion, at least 10 or more. Had they not made crucial mistakes. It was a fun, but put themselves up against it and didn't have to, and a lot of that's on Jordan. But at the same time, you see Jordan throw that one pass to Tucker, just the safeties ranging over, and it zips past his fingers into the outstretched arm. Tucker Craft on National Time Day. Good on Tucker. That was one hell of a play. It was a thing of man.
yeah.
But hey, the winter warning looked good, and gotta love it.
I think with some of your nitpicks there and the negatives, I guess I should say, it's not nitpicks, but yeah, Jordan Love needs to clean that up a little bit. But there were still penalties that kind of turned things like momentum back to the Texans. It stopped drives. It gave drives to the Texans, extended drives. So the penalties still are a thing that are really annoying to me, and I bet you to a lot of Packer universe out there. So that's something that they really need to work on. But I think for some of that sloppiness, the Packers still played a really good opponent. Yeah, they were down a few players with injuries, but yeah, that's when you think you should dominate. And without some of those turnovers the Packers had, they could have put away this Texans team pretty handily. And that's what we probably should have seen, but they didn't. But they still won, and that's what good teams do. They overcome adversity during the game. I think the Packers are doing well at adjusting and, just kind of pounding it out. Because, again, the run game did do well. Joe Mixon on the Texans ran all over us. And then all of a sudden, the last, quarter, it kind of stopped, and it was a passing game for the Texans. But, there are some things to clean up, some things to shore up, some issues with the Packers. But overall, this was fun. You don't want it to come down to a last second field goal. But now that we do have an actual kicker, you have a little more faith, a little more confidence in that end result. Because with Narvdog and Anders, it's just it was too much. So I think an issue gets resolved, and a couple more come to the surface that we need to take care of. But I guess that's just the way of things, the way of the NFL, the way of teams. You can't be perfect all the time. And they come going into next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're not playing great football. I think they did win out there in London today, but they're a team that the Packers should be able to handle, even going into their house. So we will see. But Ren, that's another conversation for later in the week when we do our regular podcast. So watch out for that. But any last words, any parting words? But that's all I got to say. This game was fun. Go Pack, go. And I love the win. I love having the kicker back.
It was a great win today. We can get stuck on some of the things that didn't go right that I brought up front. But that was a hell of a team win. There were a lot of great plays by the offense. Again, Jordan needs to get that completion percentage and turnovers clean up a little bit. But this is a very good football team. And like right before we glitched again here out in Ludden, North Dakota, as I drove through Hankinson, North Dakota, home of Cody Locke, guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a big placard in that town of 30. It's just fun to be with you from a glitchy locale and get to talk about a great Packer win there.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Ren. I appreciate it very much. We'll catch you back here soon. Thanks everyone for watching. This is the first takeaway with Tay and Ren of the Packer Universe podcast. Go check out our social media platforms. Go over to YouTube. Check us out there. We appreciate you watching and listening. Until next episode, go Pack, go.
So a regular episode today on the pup list. The last bit come through.